Today on the Tiger Lacrosse Report, we'll preview the Tigers game against the Loyola Greyhounds. Get ready, fans. The Tiger Lacrosse Report starts now. Hello and welcome to the Tiger Lacrosse Report. I'm your host, Ben Rosenbaum. The Tigers, after a 3-game road trip, are back inside the friendly confines of Johnny Unitas Stadium. On February 26th, they'll play host to their Baltimore neighbor, Loyola. And as always, I'm joined by the head coach of the Tigers, Sonia LaMonica. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, Loyola, last year, a 9-5 victory for you guys. As of taping today, they have yet to play their first game. Does that make it harder to prepare for a team when there's no film on them yet?
Yeah, it can. I think it forces us to focus on us and how we continue to get better from each game. So there's, some things that we can know about Loyola from the past. They've obviously got a lot of great talent, but it can be tricky, but again, we're going to focus on getting stronger ourselves. There's still things that we can do better.
They're returning their second and third leading scorers in Frankie Camley and Hannah Powers. Hannah Powers also was tied for their lead in assists. Are you just expecting a big game? This is similar to a UMBC team, Stony Brook team, where they have these 2 or 3 really talented offensive players.
Yeah, and they have some talented players, but all around they've got a lot of talent. They've been younger. A lot of those youngsters have come back and they've got some experience under their belt now. So, I anticipate we'll see a really talented squad with a lot of scoring threats and with some key players in the mix. But that any one of those players is going to be able to step up and make a play. So, yeah, we're going to have to be ready for a tough team and a local rival at that, where the players step out and they know each other and they played with each other and in high school. So. I'm sure it's going to be a battle. And, them coming up short last year, I'm sure they want that game back. So we've got to be ready to step out and play our game.
Rewinding to that UMBC game for a moment, you did a really good job limiting Carolyn Jamieson and Sam Nolan. It's very similar, the roster breakdown in terms of production, when you look at them and Loyola. Is it a similar type of game plan to try to cut those two off to what you did against UMBC?
When we're sort of looking at our approach for a team we're facing, we're really looking at where the hot spots are, where a lot of the shots are being generated from, where the opportunities are coming from, so that, as a defensive unit, we understand that, the players understand that. The intent of our system, though, is to force, force team play, and should never come down to 1 or 2 players being able to create over and over again and not being able to halt that. So I think it really calls for teams to have to play a real big team game. And if we understand where the hot spots are, we can put emphasis on those areas, which, we'll do. But ultimately, our system, our principles to our system have got to be sound. And we can't afford to have, 2 to 3 breakdowns on a certain situation. That's going to lead to us being scored on.
Angie Benson, she didn't play in the opener against Stony Brook. She plays half of the game against Penn State, has a great game against UMBC. What are you seeing now? If she was coming off that injury, how is she now at this point in the year?
I think Angie continues to do a really good job. She has been fairly consistent. To her credit, some of the breakdowns in some games has been as a whole, as a defensive unit. Sometimes you just need a bit of a change to shake things up. And the beauty is we've got 2 great goalies. We have a lot of confidence in both of them. Angie has a little more experience, but Kylie has proved herself too, and she's been able to step in and be a real gamer. And she continues to get better with each opportunity that she sees too. So, for Angie, she continues to be, our starting goalie. But whether, we're sharing time, whether we stick with our starting goalie, that's going to be sort of day to day and game to game, and based on what's best against the opponent we're facing too.
When you look at other teams, and we mentioned it with UMBC with their main 2, Stony Brook, Loyola now, you look at your team, you're very different, and you were talking about it, that you try to have the whole team ready. Telecamp, Montalbano, Gillingham, Salmonte.
Yeah.
Anyone's capable of scoring. Michelle Gilday back on defense. She's scored a lot. She has experience. We've seen Tiana Walter score this year. When you're putting your team together, are you trying to find as much of a balanced attack as you can, and maybe not try to have just two superstars like other teams have?
I would say so. You know, a phrase that we've used a lot is sharing the load. And I think it doesn't come at a better time with, you know, facing more and more zones and, you know, different creative approaches to the defense based on some of the rules that are in play right now. So, you know, again, I think the best approach is to really have a very sharing the load type offensive game plan. We certainly have players that have special talents, and we want to put them in those positions as best we can. So it is a bit of a puzzle that we're always reevaluating each day in practice with each game. Some players, you know, develop as the season goes on. Some come out in the beginning and are no-brainers. So that's always an evaluation, and I think an approach that in the long run allows us to be more successful, because, you know, great teams can shut down top 1 and 2 players. Can they shut down 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7? Unlikely. So that's where I think it's just a better approach to the game in general and to a season of success rather than just a game of success.
Returning home, 2 local schools, we've talked about it with UMBC. But when it's Towson Loyola, whether it's you guys or the men's team or in basketball, it's always a big game, and we have 28 total Maryland players in between you and Loyola, 18 from you. It's going to be a good atmosphere anyway, just because it's Towson Loyola, but now with the amount of local kids we had, what are you expecting the atmosphere to be like inside Unitas?
I expect it to be fun, exciting, you know, and if it's great weather, that enhances the experience all around. This is a great place to play lacrosse in this state here, in this region, and that's why, you know, these players, they step out on the field and they want to compete hard, because there's a lot of pride in lacrosse here in this state, and you know, it's also a lot of great programs. All these programs locally are excellent programs and have the potential to make runs in the tournament. So I think for anyone in these games, it's an opportunity to, you know, prove yourself and to, you know, get a shot in the spotlight and to make a run. So, you know, I think that's an opportunity everybody's trying to seize, and it means a lot.
All right. Towson and Loyola are scheduled for a noon start inside Unitas Stadium. I'll have the call on 11:45 on TowsonTigers.com. For Sonia LaMonica, I'm Ben Rosenbaum. We'll see you at the U, and as always, go Tigers.